We hear a lot about victimhood these days. In fact, victimhood is one of the kind of central themes of one of the major political parties. The whole politics of race, of identity politics, rides on the concept of victimhood. And here's a very interesting study. I see it on a website called psypost.com. It's essentially psychological research. It's an article in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. It's written by a whole group of academics, Ekin Oak, Yi Qian, Brendan Stretchek, and Carl Aquino. Anyway, the theme of the article and the study is this. They're looking at people who have a personality that is sometimes associated with what's called a dark triad. A dark triad. What's the dark triad? Well, it's narcissism, it's psychopathological conduct, and it's Machiavellianism. So these are all personality traits. Narcissism, of course, the sense that I am the center of the universe. Psychopathology, or basically pathological. In other words, you have no clear sense of right and wrong. You operate without a clear moral compass. And Machiavellianism, you're very manipulative, and you see the world, including human relations, in terms of power, not in terms of fundamental values or decency. Now, here's the point. They studied these personalities, people who are in this so-called dark triad. And what they found is that these people are extremely good at exploiting victimhood to get what they want. They're not talking specifically about the race context. They're talking about the fact, and we know when we hear about victims, it automatically arouses our sympathy. We go, oh man, that guy was obviously, listen to him, this is a person who obviously had a hard time. Their ancestors had a really hard time. What a life they've led. We need to reach out and help. And what the article is showing and the study is showing is that some very bad people have realized that this is actually a staple part of human nature. By the way, this is not really, in a sense, a psychological breakthrough. I mean, think back to, the novels of Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn, and others, but also practices that I saw, for example, in India, where a guy who's not blind, nevertheless, wears dark glasses and goes around, as a beggar. And what is he doing? Nothing but manipulating people's sympathy for victimhood. Or the guy who takes one of his legs and ties it up as if he's lame and then hobbles around on crutches. Why? Again, this is a Machiavellian effort to tap into people's idea that, oh my gosh, the guy's lame, let me help him. Obviously, if he was an able-bodied guy who goes, give me 50 rupees, people would be like, get a job. But so these are ways in which victimhood is manipulated. Let me quote from the study because it seems so resonant with the political situation we're dealing with. Quote, "Fortune and human imperfection assure that at some point in life, everyone will experience suffering, disadvantage, or mistreatment. When this happens, the authors of the study say, there will be some who face their burdens in silence." This is the conservative approach, which is, you know what? Life deals me some good cards and some bad cards. My approach to it should be uncomplaining. So there will be some who face their burdens in silence, treating it as a private matter they must work out for themselves. And there will be others who make a public spectacle of their sufferings, label themselves as victims, and demand compensation for their pain. This latter response is what interests us. So the authors here they know exactly what's going on. You're basically describing the entire lifestyles of whole categories of Democrats. These are people who live, you may say, in the bubble of victimhood. The study, by the way, 3,500 people. And they emphasize the issue of Machiavellianism. They say that Machiavellian people have realized, I'm not quoting from the study, they say Machiavellian people are more likely to report that they're not able to pursue their dreams and aspirations, not due to some internal defect or some bogus plan that they developed or some inherent laziness that didn't make them carry out their plan, but rather because of external factors. So in other words, this is victimology all over again. External factors prevented me from being the marvelous success that I would otherwise have become. And they also point out in the study that what these people rely on heavily is virtue signaling. They use the exact phrase. Virtue signaling here is communicated in various ways. One of them is buying products to associate yourself with positive moral characteristics. And as they study these so-called Machiavellians, what the authors realize is that these people are thoroughly dishonest. If you put them in a study and give them an opportunity and say, listen, you can win or lose, but you let them know that they can get away with cheating, in the game, they cheat. So these are dishonest people, and they reveal their own dishonesty in the studies themselves. And the other thing that they do is that they are known for taking incidents in their life that are true, but then exaggerating them in such a way that they create this fabricated narrative of one suffering on top of another. In other words, a life now defined by misery and mistreatment, all, of course, externally imposed. I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't just thrown out of 7 jobs because I refused to work. No. I was obviously racially profiled, or it's because I'm a woman. It's because I'm gay, even though I never said so. So there's this constant sense of appealing to victimhood to prey on the goodwill of other people who genuinely want to help real victims. But these people aren't real victims. They're Machiavellians. They're psychopaths. They are people all among us, by the way, and many of them wearing the Democratic label on their sleeve, who use victimhood for cynical, political, and personal gain.